Okay, I'm going to try doing a recording here on techniques with Inkscape. And I'm going to make a Mother's Day plaque. Now, with my particular laser cutter, I have to make sure that I enter my dimensions in here and then revert back to pixels in order for it to work out dimensionally, which is a little bit of a nuisance, but tolerable. So I'm basing all of this on these little guys that I had seen, and I really liked that feel of having the cutout letters with words over the top of it. So I'm going to see if I can replicate that and do some kind of a mother themed idea. So for that we're going to want to come in here with a text box, and we'll make it say mother, and then let's find a font that we like. I kind of like this font, but the shadow effects there are probably not going to carry over very well into the laser cutting, because remember, we're making this into a big old empty void. That's a little bit more simple than I want to go. I would like something, there we go, something kind of scripty. Now, once you've got text, you need to come up here to your extensions. Let's make that a red arrow. Into your extensions area, and you're going to, oh, sorry, you need to be in paths. I'm just forgetting what I'm doing. So come up to path and choose object to path, and then you know that you've got it if you can get these little outlines of each of the individual words. Now we want this to just be strokes, so now we're coming over here and we're changing our fill stroke settings. You might have to make that available for looking at before you'll see it yourself, and I don't remember where I went to get that. Probably up here. Show hide. Nope. Anyways, your fill and stroke. If you don't have it available, that's the default command. So we don't want it to be filled, and it shows here I just had the O selected. That can happen sometimes. So we don't want it filled. We want it all just as strokes, and I'm going to cut my strokes down to a 0.8. Make them a little bit smaller. Okay, so now we've got our bulk mother, and now inside of that we want to put other text, which is more of a script style. And we want that to say some words, so, and we're not ready. Loving, caring, probably shouldn't have commas. Okay, so again, we want to find a nice font, and for this one, I think I want to go with Vladimir script. It's just a personal favorite. And then we're going to cut the size down a lot more than that. Okay, this looks like a pretty good size. Now we're going to move it into position. And now we need to cut it out. Now, cutting it out I've figured out a nice little trick for. So again, we're going to shift this over to stroke and no fill. And this is going to be our actual inner strokes. But we want this to stroke out of the other one. So again, we need to make sure we do object to path. And then I'm going to break this up. So I need to right click and ungroup it. Now, one thing you'll see is that right there, when the laser goes to engrave that, I'm going to end up getting these circles. That's something that we're going to clean up a lot later. Right now, I'm trying to get the cutout effect that this one has, where I'll keep the big word in the back from cutting into the laser. So, to do that, I'm going to select each letter one by one, and then I'm going to copy and paste, so I've got a duplicate. Now I select both of them, and I come over here to my Align and Distribute, and I make sure that I'm centering on the last one I selected, and then I'm going to use Center and Center. So center vertically and horizontally, and now that gets them both to overlap. To get my cutout, I'm going to take just my new one, so I have to deselect, reselect. Now I've only got one selected instead of both, and I'm going to give it a 5-pixel outline. So now it's got a huge outline around it. And then I'm going to go over to this other select tool, and then I'm going to use this little feature right here, which retraces on the outside of the outlines. So now I can change over to my view, and I'm going to go look at display mode outline. This is what the laser cutter is going to see when I'm looking at it this way. Now you can see that something really odd happened here, and so I'm going to take these lines and bring them back down more into where I want them, and then I'm actually going to delete them as well so that it smooths out. Now that might be a little bit more space than what I want, so we're going to undo a few steps here. Now we're back to the point of needing to set the stroke size on this outer guy. So instead of 5 pixels, let's bring that down to 3 pixels. And then again, we switch tools, we convert the outline, and that's a much nicer feeling size. Now, I'm going to show you what happens if I just delete these points, then I keep that hook, and now I can grab these and pin them in, and that gets it looking a little bit better, but not quite as good as if I just bring these points down from the get-go and try to get this smoothed out. And then delete that, and now we're pretty nice and smooth. Okay, so now this is going to be what I want to cut out. So I'm going to go back, split up my mother, ungroup it, and then you get to this menu by right-clicking. Now I'm going to take my M, and then my outline, and I'm going to go into Path and do a difference, and see now I've cut a big old hole in my M. So I've got this floating void there, and before I forget it, I'm going to back up and change the color of my cut word so that when I go to the laser cutter I can give it a different style. Okay, so now I just have to repeat that for every single one of these words. So I copy, paste, and then I realign, select down to just 1, stroke style to 3 pixels, convert to an outline, fix any defects, choose the M, oops, there's another defect over here, there we are, choose the M, clip the O. By doing path difference, and I'm going to start using Control minus for that so I don't have to go up to the menu every time. And so now it's just a lot of repeating those steps. there's probably a macro system somewhere that I could just record all of these steps for me, but that would miss out on the whole cleaning process, as that's very much a manual effect. Draw them back into line, then you delete them. Now for this eye, I'm going to have to do a double shot on there, because it's, actually no, it just overlaps with the O. But you have to watch when you're between the letters if you're going to overlap onto the other letter. Okay, so that's a little bit wonky. I think I'm going to get rid of this center void completely. I don't want to outline just the dot. Yeah, I like how that looks a lot better. Okay, so select the O, select the outline, Control minus. There we go. Not sure why I got a void in here. Another one over there. Okay. Oops. And see what happened here is I forgot to deselect the one of them. So I'm going to back up to here. Now deselect, reselect, then change your stroke size. Alright, no noticeable artifacts, and off we go. I'm going to see if I can just back up here and do this in bulk. I tend to always think through the process that I'm following and try to find faster ways to do it. And in this particular case, I think I can go faster. So I'm going to group, copy, paste, align, select down to just one, stroke size 3, and alright, so while they're grouped I can't do that, but maybe I can do it now. There we go. Oh, much better. Okay, so now I've got stuff to clean up, but it won't take me nearly as long as it was taking me. I deleted those in the wrong order. Okay, this time let's bring both down. And then delete. There we go. Now over here I've got an error, but that's not going to cause me any problems. And then here again, let's get rid of that whole inner eye thing. Looks pretty good. That one's not going to be a problem, but I do have it in the void. Oh, this one we want to worry about. Looks like I'm not going to have much left inside that E. That might cause some problems for me. But we'll see how it looks when we get there. Okay, now we just need to go through and do all of our deletes. So, bulk letter, subletter, control minus, new subletter, control minus. Turns out that doesn't overlap with anything at all. Neither does this one. Alright, bulk letter, subletter, control minus, oops, hold shift when you're selecting, so that you select both. There we go. Now this H loses its entire crossbar. So we'll have to take a look at this afterwards and see if we can still tell that it should say mother. Might be that we have to select some very, very different options. Okay, there we go. Now everything's done, so we're going to change our view back to normal. And there's what we're going to have. You can still see a little bit of the crossbar on the H. Alright, so now we need to put a frame around it. So let's take our pixels back to 0.8. We want our frame to be a cutout. And if we're going to do the little insets like what he had on the one I'm basing this off of, well, first let's center our frame. So we're going to recombine mother, make it into a single word. You have to right click on the line in order to have the group option available. So now we can again do the alignment over here. So we're going to center our frame. And then I'm going to get some little circles and cut some holes out of the side. There we go, 4 identical circle-ish things. Let's actually delete those and make them real circles. So for that, we come up here and we just make their width and their height the same. So let's make it an 8 by 8 circle. There we go. Now let's make 4 of those and let's figure out how to align in the upper corner. Not quite. Alright, well, can't quite figure out how to get those to align the way that I want them to, so we're just going to do it visually. Get them roughly centered. And then this one plus that one difference. And there we go. This is looking a lot like these things that I'm basing it off of. Now they did have some little mounting holes in there, which is nice, but I'm not going to bother with that. So we're going to go ahead and save this as an SVG. Then we'll pop on over to my laser, and we'll make sure we can get it in. Ooh, see now that's a lot smaller than I wanted to do. I wasn't paying attention to my actual dimensions here. I had made note of that mentally when I was looking at my size of the text. But the nice thing about working in SVG and vectors is we can just rescale things as big as we want. So, now my cutting surface is about 3 foot by 2 foot. So for size-wise, that would be a very nice plaque. There we go. So now we save that, and we re-import. There we go. Okay, so I want to cut in red, but you want to do that last. So my red is going to cut at 1,000 and 100%. My black, I want a pretty light engrave, so I'm going to have it go at 8,000. And there you go. Now I just send that to the laser, and I will be all done. Okay, here's my laser cutter, completely unenclosed, which is not very advisable. I'm going to cut this on some really thin wood, holding it down with magnets, and running my super high-tech ventilation system here. And here we go. Lasers in action. I don't know if they'll be able to see much of anything here, but I did say I was supposed to clean up some artifacts in between the letters, and actually it looks like it didn't matter that much. So now we're going to pop this on out, trying not to move the base too much so I can line it up if I have to recut anything. And there we go. A little bit of coloring and that'll be all set. You can see there's still something in there between the M. Anyway, I'm going to go back and show how to clean up those artifacts like I had promised to and failed to. Okay, so I forgot to finish getting rid of these little overlaps. Now it turned out that it didn't matter too much in the final project, but it's still better to get rid of those. And it looks like Inkscape's glitching out a little bit on me. That's unfortunate. Okay, so we're going to first select all of the words here, and then we're going to path union. And then we'll do path combine? Nope. Okay, now we've got them all ungrouped. Now we're going to do path union, and that got rid of those little issues. Sorry about that. Forgot a few steps in there, I guess. Now I could go through and clean up these little divots by just doing a delete there and a delete there, and then maybe smooth things out a little bit here. But I don't think that they're going to matter at all in the final engrave unless you go really huge on something like this. You can barely tell that anything odd happens. And that's it.